My name's Daniel Agdag, and I predominantly make things out of cardboard, very intricate, detailed cardboard sculptures. Metro Tunnel Creative Program approached me about creating a work that would be an interpretation of the tunnel boring machine, and I thought that was right up my alley because I love machines, and a lot of my work revolve around machines and contraptions and very intricate sort of pipe work and duct work, and so I took this as a great opportunity to express my version of the tunnel boring machine. There's always a logic to the work that I make, like there's little narratives and stories, and so everything in my mind needs to be functional, even if it's completely a fictitious sort of contraption. This obviously isn't, but it is amended to my sort of sensibility, I guess, in a little way, yeah. The thing I started with was the front cutting surface, so every single blade is accounted for. Like I couldn't find enough information about that, so I really wanted to get that accurate. But then from that point on, it resembles a tunnel boring machine, but everything is sort of interpreted. Like the hydraulic pushers on the back is my version of them. They're a little bit more, they're finer and they're a little bit more delicate than the real ones are. I almost wanted it to be its own little autonomous machine. It could almost, not necessarily bore tunnels, but do other things as well. They're all mechanical manifestations of my inner thoughts and ideas. So that's the representations, but it's also, in this case, there was a sort of a basis, which was the tunnel boring machine for the project. And from that, I took the elements that I loved and sort of wrapped them into my own sort of narrative of what I thought the machine did and how it did what it did. A lot of the time I'm making it up as I go along, I guess. It's all intuitive. Like I don't draw it, I don't plan it out. I just sort of go part by part, section by section, until I build up the work. And that's generally very similar to the process in everything, whether it's a really complicated work or if it's a very simple work, it's how I go about it. Just figuring out how all of those parts and components are going to work and coming up with your own solutions to them. To me, like the whole process is akin to drawing, because when you're drawing on a sheet of paper, you start with the broad shape of things, and then you detail it and detail it, and then you render it, and then eventually you get to a point where you're like just sort of dressing the edges and finishing it off. So yeah, to me it is very much like that. Introducing artists to communicate the project to the public. So I think that's a really good thing, because it sort of, it brings the project to the public in a way where you can sort of show off the great endeavours that are going on, because it's such an amazing infrastructure program. Like it's a huge sort of value to the city. With all art, it's something that you are showing to the public, and you're hoping that in one way or another it moves them, or they find an attachment to it. I hope they're intrigued by my works. I hope they find something in it that they can relate to, or find it fascinating. It's of great interest to me. I'm a little frightened that I might go on at length and bore everyone about how interesting and intricate tunnel boring machines actually are.